Have you ever stopped to think that maybe some of the biggest changes in the world, they aren't the ones making headlines, that they happen quietly, under the surface?
Yeah.
In industries we might just see as, well, traditional,
Yeah.
old school even. Sometimes the really big growth stories are hiding right there. Okay, so let's unpack this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something you might not think about every single day, but it underpins so much of our world, the global tractors market.
Yeah, and these numbers, they're not just figures, are they? What's really fascinating, I think, is how they almost act as a barometer. For much bigger trends, we're talking global food security, population growth, definitely, but also the speed of change in agricultural tech, infrastructure development. It's all reflected there. And the source material we're looking at today, it's this really comprehensive market forecast. Gives us a detailed view, past, present, and some pretty compelling future projections right through 2033.
Right. So our mission today is basically to pull back the curtain on this, well, surprisingly strong growth trajectory. We want to pinpoint the key regions driving it, the players involved, and really importantly, understand what these trends might mean, for global food production, maybe even the future of ag tech itself. We're not just reading stats. We want to find the stories and the numbers. So let's start with the big picture.
Yeah.
Okay, globally. The global tractors market. In 2021, it brought in about, $96.2 billion in sales revenue, which is already a pretty hefty number. But the projection, that's where it gets really interesting. Expected to hit almost $121 billion by 2025, and then climb all the way up to a, really impressive nearly $192 billion by 2033.
Wow.
Yeah. And that means a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of nearly 6%. 5.897% to be exact, over that whole forecast period. Now, for an industry like tractors, pretty established, right? What does a steady CAGR like that actually tell us? Is it just more of the same, or is something else going on?
That's a really key question because, almost 6% growth year on year in what looks like a mature industry. It isn't just incremental bumps. It suggests some deep systemic drivers are really pushing things forward. We're definitely talking about population growth needing more food. Yes, that's fundamental. But it's also this big global push for more efficiency in farming, mechanization, even in places that are already pretty mechanized. And the sustained growth, it also reflects, I think, faster equipment replacement. Technology is driving that. Farmers are upgrading. They're getting more sophisticated machines, data-driven stuff that really changes how they farm. So it's not just more tractors, it's better, smarter tractors, upgrading capability.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. The why behind it. So it's not just volume.
Yeah.
All right, let's dig into where this growth is really happening. Let's do that regional deep dive, starting maybe in North America.
Good place to start. Very significant market.
Right. So North America. Revenue there was about $27.8 billion back in 2021, projected to rise to $34.7 billion in 2025, and then get up to $52.6 billion by 2033. And the U.S., well, no surprise, it leads the way.
Definitely. But what's striking about North America, even though it's already a highly developed ag region, is that the growth isn't just about scale. It points to this shift, I think, towards very specialized, often really large-scale farming, increasingly automated too. And that demands rapid equipment upgrades. It suggests a faster move towards, industrial agriculture, perhaps more so than elsewhere. And that kind of farming needs sophisticated infrastructure, not just fields, but data networks, specialized maintenance, the whole thing.
So pushing the limits of the machines. Got it. And beyond the U.S., Canada and Mexico were also showing pretty solid growth. Canada projected to hit about $6.7 billion by 2033, and Mexico around $5.4 billion in that same time frame. So yeah, seems like a continent-wide push for modernization.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hop across the Atlantic. Europe.
Europe's interesting, different dynamics.
The market there was about $18.1 billion in 2021, expected to climb to nearly $34 billion by 2033. Germany and France are big players. Naturally, Germany looking at maybe $5.4 billion by 2033. France almost $4.9 billion. But what are the sort of standout trends across the continent? Is it similar to North America?
It's a bit different, I'd say. Europe's growth feels more like steady, broad modernization rather than, explosive expansion. If you connect to the bigger picture, it probably reflects things like environmental regulations, maybe labor availability issues, sustainability goals. These things are driving investment in more efficient machines, often lower emission ones too. And even the smaller economies show consistent growth. Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, they're not huge agricultural giants globally, but they're still increasing investment. It signals this widespread, continent-wide effort to upgrade capabilities, for food security and efficiency, but within their specific regulatory world.
Okay, so a quieter revolution? Maybe. Steady does it. Now let's talk about a region that's just, huge in terms of size and growth. Asia Pacific. This market was valued at over $38 billion back in 2021 and projected to reach a massive $80.7 billion by 2033. That's enormous. China alone is projected to hit over $23 billion by then.
Yeah, Asia Pacific really dominates, both in current size and the sheer speed of expansion. It's quite something. And it's not just population, though that's part of it. It's this fundamental transformation happening in farming practices across the region. Look at India, for instance, projected to almost triple its market by 2033, reaching nearly $14 billion. That points to a massive drive towards mechanization, replacing manual labor in economies that were traditionally based on that. And that fundamentally impacts global food prices, trade flows, as these countries aim for more self-sufficiency, maybe even export more. Of course, that needs huge investment, rural infrastructure, farmer training. It's a big undertaking.
The scale is just incredible to think about. And it's not just China and India. Japan's market is also set for significant growth, nearly $18 billion by 2033. South Korea over $5 billion. And maybe surprisingly for some, Singapore, even though it's so urbanized. It's projected to reach over $3 billion by 2033. What's happening there?
Yeah, Singapore's growth is interesting. Smaller numbers, obviously, but it's a great example of how this market isn't just about tractors and fields. It likely points to investment in things like high-tech urban farming, maybe vertical farms, specialized horticulture, things that still need advanced machinery, just different types. It really highlights how diverse agricultural technology is becoming.
That's a fantastic point. Very different applications. Okay, moving on. South America. Market there was around $6.6 billion in 2021, expected to rise to over $14.5 billion by 2033. Brazil, obviously a huge global food producer, projected around $4.5 billion by 2033. Argentina follows, about $2.1 billion.
South America. What's insightful there is its role as this growing global food basket, isn't it? The strong growth isn't just about feeding themselves. It's about boosting output for export worldwide. And that often means expanding farmland, intensifying practices, using larger, more powerful tractors for those huge areas, and the infrastructure to support that roads, storage that's just as critical.
Right, that global connection again. Key point. Colombia also shows strong growth, projected over $1.3 billion by 2033, so a broad regional push there too. Next up, the Middle East. Market was about $3.6 billion in 2021, expected to reach over $6 billion by 2033. Saudi Arabia has a big chunk of that, projected around $2 billion by 2033.
Yeah, the Middle East, while smaller overall, is fascinating because of the challenges, right? Water scarcity, desert conditions. So the demand for tractors there, it's not just traditional farming. It hints at big investments in specialized gear, things for controlled environments, precision irrigation, maybe even reclaiming desert land. It's really driven by that strong need for food security in tough conditions, needs very specific, adapted tech.
Really shows how technology has to adapt. Absolutely. Okay, finally, let's look at Africa. The market there was about $1.6 billion in 2021, expected to more than double, reaching about $3.4 billion by 2033. South Africa and Nigeria are key players. South Africa projected nearly $1.2 billion, Nigeria over $660 million by 2033.
Africa represents, well, huge future potential, doesn't it, for mechanization? That substantial percentage growth, even starting from a lower base, it's a strong sign. A sign of a real effort to boost food production, cut down on imports, improve rural lives. And this growth is often backed by government plans, international development projects, all aimed at increasing farm productivity. It's not just about the current numbers, but the sheer scale of possibility in the years ahead.
Looking across all of that, well, the consistency of growth, even with all the regional differences, is really striking. From mature markets like North America and Europe to the rapidly developing ones in Asia Pacific and Africa. It tells a powerful story.
Did any patterns particularly jump out at you, or what factors do you think are driving these regional variations beyond the obvious?
For me, it's that hidden tech story inside these numbers.
Yeah.
The idea that tractors are becoming these sophisticated data platforms.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating.
Absolutely. The tech angle is huge.
So let's try and wrap up this fascinating deep dive. We've uncovered a global market tractors that isn't just stable, it's actually seeing really significant consistent growth. From around $96 billion in 2021, it's projected to almost double, reaching that huge figure, nearly $192 billion by 2033.
Yeah, and if we connect that back to the bigger picture, the sustained, even accelerating demand, it really reflects those profound global trends we talked about. A growing population needing more food, for sure. Evolving farming practices looking for efficiency. And this increasing integration of advanced tech, AI, robotics, precision GPS, you name it, using it to maximize yields in all sorts of different environments. It really shows how crucial innovation is, even in industries you might think are unchanging.
So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening? Consider how this growth in what seems like a basic industry, tractors, how it might ripple out, affecting things like food prices, the sustainability of how we produce food, maybe even global development patterns.
Yeah.
What new innovations, maybe ones we didn't even touch on, do you think are driving this growth under the surface? Or looking ahead, what challenges might this industry face as it tries to adapt to future demands? Demands for even more sustainable, more tech-driven farming. Lots to think about there.
Did you know that agriculture, an industry we often think of as, well, traditional, is actually one of the most vibrant hotbeds for tech innovation right now?
It really is. It's moving so fast. We're way beyond just planting seeds these days.
Absolutely. And today we're taking a deep dive into the global tractors market.
Tractors, right. Seems straightforward, maybe.
Yeah, I know what you might be thinking, tractors. But honestly, this isn't just about big farm equipment. It's really about understanding these huge global trends.
Things like how labor is shifting, the kind of cutting-edge tech coming in.
Exactly. How we grow food, how we feed the world, it's all changing.
Hmm.
Our insights for this deep dive, they come mainly from a detailed report, Global Tractors Market. Trends, growth, and future horizons from Cognitive Market Research.
Right, and we pulled in some other supporting stuff, too.
We have, and our mission really is to help you quickly get a handle on the crucial bits, the surprising developments shaping this vital industry.
Yeah, how these seemingly simple machines are turning into these, well, complex, intelligent assets.
Yeah.
Almost right before our eyes.
So let's unpack this then. What's truly at the heart of this transformation? What's really driving all this change in the global tractors market?
Well, at its core, it's really about these fundamental shifts, societal and economic ones, that are reshaping, the rural landscape.
Okay.
We're seeing this continuous decline in available labor in rural areas, pretty much globally.
Right. Fewer people wanting or being able to do that work.
Exactly. And at the same time, agricultural wages, they're rising.
So a double whammy almost.
It is. And this isn't just like a small economic adjustment. It signals a real fundamental restructuring in how we produce food.
So farmers are being pushed towards machines.
Out of sheer necessity, yeah. It's accelerating this tech adoption curve that, honestly, without this labor crunch might have taken decades longer.
That's a critical point. So it's not just about getting more efficient, it sounds like. For many farmers, these machines are now about survival, given the labor situation.
You're absolutely right. Survival, adapting to new realities. And tractors are just central to this.
How so, specifically?
Well, they're not just brute force anymore. They enable precision farming practices,
Okay.
which directly boosts the yield per acre, making every bit of land count more.
Right. Getting more out of less, essentially.
Precisely. And they also handle this huge range of tasks, from the initial tilling and planting right through to post-harvest transport. They're indispensable.
And is this push stronger in some places? You mentioned urbanization earlier.
Yeah, it's definitely stronger where rapid urbanization is pulling labor away from farms more quickly, that pressure cooker effect.
Okay. So we've got these big push factors, necessity, labor shifts. But is it just market forces or is someone, deliberately speeding this up? What about governments?
That's where it gets really interesting. Government support is actually a major accelerator for adoption,
Really? How?
especially in key regions, think India, Brazil, sub-Saharan Africa, places where mechanization isn't just profit, it's vital for national food security.
And economic development generally, I imagine.
Exactly.
And we're not just talking vague policies, are we? There are specific things governments are doing.
Oh, yeah, very specific. Direct subsidies, offering low-interest loans, setting up these comprehensive farm mechanization schemes.
Things that genuinely make these machines more reachable for average farmers.
They do. Look at India, for instance. They have programs like PM Kisan, that's direct income support,
Okay.
and their submission on agricultural mechanization, BUSMAM, provides subsidies directly for equipment.
And has that work?
It's significantly improved tractor penetration, yeah, especially for the small and marginal farmers who traditionally found affording this stuff almost impossible.
That's huge.
It is. And beyond India, you've got countries like, say, Vietnam and Indonesia actively easing import restrictions
Letting more tractors in.
and encouraging foreign companies to enter their markets. It's all about hitting their national mechanization goals. It's strategic, like leapfrogging agricultural development. Now, if we shift gears a little, there's another powerful force here, too.
Okay.
The rise of commercial and corporate farming ventures, these bigger operations, they're fueling huge demand for the really high horsepower tractors.
And big guns.
And the ones deeply integrated with technology.
Yeah.
These are definitely not your grandfather's machines.
Okay, so we have this push from necessity, but also this pull from big commercial farms wanting the high-tech stuff. What is that cutting-edge tech? How is precision agriculture making tractors intelligent?
Right. That's where it gets really interesting. Like you said, we're talking precision ag powered by GPS, obviously, but also the Internet of Things, IoT, so basically connected sensors everywhere, and artificial intelligence, AI.
So the tractor becomes like a digital brain on wheels.
Pretty much. Their advanced capabilities include things like variable rate application,
You mean
meaning precisely applying things, fertilizer, water, pesticides only where and when the crops actually need it, minimizing waste.
super targeted?
Super targeted. Then there's real-time monitoring of crop health, soil conditions.
Data constantly feeding back.
Exactly. And even autonomous navigation. Tractors operating with minimal human intervention. It's all about optimizing every single input.
Wow. And the big manufacturers, the OEMs like John Deere, CNH, Mahindra, they must be all over this.
Oh, absolutely. They're investing heavily in R&D for these next-gen tractors.
What are they focusing on?
Enhanced fuel efficiency, naturally, but also digital dashboards giving farmers tons of data and even remote diagnostics.
Fixing problems from afar.
Potentially, yeah. Or at least identifying them faster. It really does sound like they're building supercomputers on wheels.
It does.
And this high-tech stuff is particularly in demand in developed regions, right?
Yeah.
North America, Australia, parts of Eastern Europe.
Why there specifically?
Well, you've got larger farms. Generally, they need powerful, connected, and increasingly sustainable machinery to optimize everything and stay competitive globally.
Okay, that makes sense. But let's flip the coin. What about the obstacles? Especially in developing economies. It sounds like amazing progress, but surely there are hurdles stopping this tech from reaching everyone.
You're right, there definitely are. Despite all the momentum, several key restraints are still hindering market penetration quite a bit.
Like what?
Well, the most obvious one is just the high initial cost, especially for tractors packed with all those advanced features we just talked about.
Just too expensive up front for many.
Exactly. For many smallholder farmers, that cost is simply prohibitive. Full stop.
Even with the subsidies we mentioned.
Even with subsidies, yeah. Access to affordable financing is still a really significant barrier in many rural and low-income communities.
The money just isn't there, or the loans are too expensive.
Right. The capital isn't readily available, or the terms aren't good enough to make that leap feasible.
Okay, cost and financing. What else?
Then there's the challenge of fragmented land holdings. Think about countries like Nepal, India, parts of Africa.
Small plots scattered around.
Exactly. Those big high-tech tractors. They often just aren't efficient on small scattered plots.
So you need different kinds of solutions.
Yeah, you need compact or custom solutions. And those aren't always widely available or as cost-effective either.
It sounds like a real mismatch sometimes, trying to use these modern tools on land structures from a different era.
It can be. And another huge problem, often overlooked, is the lack of good after-sales support.
Maintenance? Spare parts?
Yeah, inadequate maintenance infrastructure, especially in remote regions. Imagine your entire livelihood depends on this machine.
It drags down.
And it's down for weeks because a spare part is stuck somewhere or there's no qualified technician nearby.
That would destroy trust pretty quickly.
It really impacts their whole livelihood and their trust in these technologies, absolutely. And imported brands can face extra logistical delays too.
Making it even worse.
Which definitely impacts customer trust and the farmer's long-term return on investment. These aren't minor issues, they're fundamental barriers.
Right. But, innovation doesn't usually stop for obstacles, does it? Despite these challenges, what are the key trends pushing things forward? What's shaping the future here?
Precisely. Innovation keeps rolling. One major development is electric and hybrid tractors.
Ah, the green transition hitting farming.
Absolutely. Aims squarely at reducing emissions, but also operational costs, fuel savings, potentially lower maintenance.
Are there examples already out there?
Yeah, take Monarch Tractor in the U.S. They've launched these smart, battery-powered autonomous tractors specifically designed for vineyards, orchards, specialty crops.
Interesting news.
And in Europe, you've got subsidies actively pushing green energy and climate resilience in agriculture, which is accelerating the shift, too, towards more sustainable farming.
Okay, electric. What else?
Well, building on what we said earlier, another truly transformative trend is just the wider adoption of these smart and autonomous tractors.
Becoming more mainstream.
Increasingly so, yeah. Fully integrated with sensors, GPS guidance, AI analytics. They're genuinely revolutionizing large-scale farming, where precision and labor efficiency are just absolutely critical, pushing the boundaries.
And what about those cost-sensitive markets we talked about? The smaller farmers, the fragmented land, any innovation helping them?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
The rising popularity of rental and tractor sharing platforms is a genuine game changer there.
Sharing access instead of buying.
Exactly. It makes getting access to these powerful tools possible without that huge upfront ownership cost. Yeah. That feels like a truly democratic kind of innovation, doesn't it?
It really does. Are there companies doing this?
Oh, yeah. Specific examples like Tringo in India or Hello Tractor in Kenya. These platforms offer tractor as a service.
Like software as a service, but for tractors.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Often through mobile apps. Small
Hmm.
farmers can rent machinery on demand, maybe just for a few hours when they need it most.
That seems incredibly practical.
It is. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it's really about democratizing access to these advanced tools, bridging that affordability gap, making sure innovation reaches the people who really need it.
That's a powerful trend. Okay, so with all this change, who are the main players? Who's leading the charge in this evolving market? The titans and the innovators?
Well, at the global level, you still got the giants dominating sales.
Yeah.
Deere & Company, John Deere, C&H Industrial, which owns Case IH in New Holland, and Kubota.
The big names everyone knows.
Right. They have these extensive product portfolios, massive distribution networks worldwide. They really set the pace for a lot of the innovation.
Okay. What about specific regions? India came up a lot.
Yeah. The Indian domestic market is huge and
Yeah.
quite unique. The leaders there are Mahindra and Mahindra, Sonalika Group, and TAFE.
And they sell mostly in India.
They cater heavily to local demand, but
Hmm.
increasingly they're exporting too. And importantly, these Indian companies are rapidly expanding their ranges. Compact tractors, orchard models, digitized interfaces, trying to meet all those diverse niche needs.
Adapting quickly?
Very much so. Then you also have these more specialized players,
Mm.
companies like Captain Tractors or VST Tillers Tractors.
What's their focus?
They focus specifically on the mini and subcompact segments, perfect for those fragmented landholdings we discussed. It shows how the market is adapting to very specific, on-the-ground challenges.
So lots of players, big and small. Competition must be fierce. How are they competing?
It is fierce. And they're using a whole range of strategies. We're seeing strategic partnerships, expanding dealer networks constantly.
Getting closer to the customer.
Right. Hyperlocal product localization, tweaking designs for specific regional needs, and crucially, enhancing that post-sale service to build trust and loyalty.
Covering all the bases, really.
That's a good way to put it. And sort of underlying all of this, most of the major players have really embraced digital transformation now.
How so?
They're incorporating telematics, that remote monitoring of machine performance we touched on,
Right.
predictive maintenance, trying to anticipate breakdowns before they happen, fleet tracking for bigger operations.
Yeah. It's all about data.
It really is. This is all designed to attract those tech-savvy farmers
Mm.
and the big commercial users who need more than just horsepower. They need data, they need reliability, they need insights.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. To recap our deep dive today, it feels like the global tractors market is right in the middle of this massive transformation,
Definitely.
moving away from just traditional machinery towards these high-tech, digitally integrated, and often even shared resources.
Yeah, it's a story of innovation, really, driven by both necessity like the labor shortages and just incredible opportunity with new tech on
Yeah.
a global scale.
Right. And understanding this market, it gives you this fascinating window into much bigger things, doesn't it?
It really does. Global economic shifts, how quickly new tech gets adopted, and fundamentally the future of how we produce our food.
Which raises, I think, an important question for you, the listener, to maybe mull over. As agriculture becomes increasingly sophisticated, increasingly technology-driven, how might these advancements fundamentally reshape rural economies and food security in the decades to come? Not just for farmers, but really for all of us.